of our course today, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Syamsul Arifin to deliver the opening speech. Professor Syamsul Arifin, the time is yours.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, asyhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu la nabiyya ba'dah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'du. All the honorable, all of the resources speakers, I'm so sorry I cannot mention by one, but the master ceremony all mentioned. Each resource speaker, one of them from Islamabad. Thank you for your coming virtually to our short course, international short course about the halal industry. The Honorable the Dean of the Faculty of Economic and Business, Ibu or Mrs. Hajaida Zura, and the Honorable the Head of the Department of the Economic and Development, Pak Wahyudi, is correct? Yes. And all of participants of the international short course of halal industry. First of all, I think we should say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always bestow the blessing, the heart to us, so we can gather in the virtually forum that is the international short course held by the head of the Department of the Economic and Development, and the one of the department in the Faculty of Economic and Business. Yeah. One of the prominent faculty in University of Muhammadiyah, Malang. On behalf of the Chancellor, but before I continue my opening remark, maybe my opening remark is very short, because in the same time I should deliver my opening remark in the international conference. I'm in the campus 2 today, because Pak Rector asked me to represent him to deliver the opening remark in the international conference held by the medicine faculty and also with the Faculty of the Heart. Yeah. Okay. Once again, on behalf of the Chancellor, I would like to give the high appreciation to the committee. Yeah, I think this event is very important, as we know. Islam is the majority in Indonesia, and as a Muslim, we should have the high concern about the halal industry. So I hope this conference is not the first and not the last. Yeah. Not the first, but not the last. I hope, especially to the Department of the Economic and Development, can maintain this academic tradition. So I hope in the next years, 2023, the department can have again the conference like this, because this event, I think, is very important to us, to develop about the ecosystem, about the halal industry. So once again, I would like to provide my high appreciation to the committee and also the dean and also all of the member of the committee, because you can express, you can articulate your best efforts to start this event like this year. I think that's all, because the committee in Campus 2, I think for me to deliver my opening remark. Yeah, thank you. And let's say Basmalah to start this event. Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Syamsul, for the speech. We are very pleased to have you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm leaving. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you very
Prof.
much.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Have a
I
nice
moved
day,
to the
Prof.
another room. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih, Prof.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the recent years, the development of halal industry in Indonesia has also continued to snowball. In the state Global Islamic Economic Report 2022, Indonesia's halal food sector rose in the previous year. For this reason, Islamic finance and the halal industry must be mutually sustainable. The presence of financial products is needed to strengthen the halal industry ecosystem. The development of Indonesian halal industrial chain must reach the global market. As a result of this encouraging development, the Department of Development Economics provides 7 interesting topics in the short course program that is aimed to enrich discussion of Islamic finance and halal industry from basic to practical in Indonesia and also the global perspective. These topics will be delivered by different distinguished experts in Islamic finance around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I would like to give you some information about this course. For respective speakers, you will have 2 hours to deliver your materials, including the discussion and also the Q&A session. You will also have a full control over your class for the next 2 hours. And for the participants, you will have the opportunity to submit your question or opinions by tapping your question on the chat box, or you can select the raise hand button in Zoom during the Q&A session. You may send in your question at any time during the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to our speaker today, Professor Dr. Asad Zaman. Professor Asad? I think he's not joining yet. I would like to read a brief introduction about Professor Asad Zaman. Professor Asad is a Pakistani professor. He's also an economist and also social scientist. Previously, he has served as Vice Chancellor of the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, Islamabad. He's also the member of the Economic Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister and Director General of International Institute of Islamic Economics, International Islamic University, Islamabad. He earned his PhD in economics from Stanford University in 1978 and his Master of Science in Statistics from Stanford University in 1976, and also his Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from MIT in 1974. And he is also the editor of International Econometric Review on the editor board of many other journals. Well, I think Professor Asad Zaman is not here yet. Before we move to the course, I would like to show you our brief explanation about the Department of Development Economics. Oh, Professor Asad Zaman, Assalamualaikum. Professor, can you hear? Sorry, we cannot hear your voice. Yeah, I think there's a technical problem here with Professor Asad. Hello, Prof. Asad Zaman. Can you hear me? Professor, I cannot hear your voice. Yeah. Well, while waiting for Professor Azizaman to join with us, we'd like to show you a video about Department of Development Economics.
Komoditas ekspor Indonesia banyak menjadi primadona negara lain. Dari data Kementerian Koperasi dan Usaha Kecil dan Menengah Republik Indonesia menunjukkan bahwa ada 10 komoditas ekspor kategori non-migas masih sangat diminati negara lain. Melihat peluang dan potensi tersebut di atas, maka Prodi Ekonomi Pembangunan UMM membentuk kelas bisnis ekspor untuk menjembatani mahasiswa yang memiliki minat di bidang ekspor. Sesuai dengan profil program studi ekonomi pembangunan, yaitu mahasiswa tidak hanya difokuskan pada studi perencanaan dan pembangunan, tetapi juga difokuskan pada entrepreneur. Untuk menambah pengalaman serta kemampuan praktek lapangan, pada kelas ini mahasiswa dapat melakukan magang pada Kadin Jawa Timur dan Asosiasi Pelaku Ekspor atau Indo-Eximpro yang saat ini sudah menjalin kerjasama dengan Prodi Ekonomi Pembangunan UMM. Kelas ini akan dibekali materi mengenai keuangan internasional ekspor-impor, perencanaan bisnis ekspor, praktek pemasaran produk ekspor, komunikasi bisnis internasional, ekonomi perpajakan, serta sertifikasi kompetensi bidang ekspor sebagai jaminan keahlian di dunia kerja. Kelas Pasar Modal merupakan salah satu kelas unggulan yang dibentuk program studi ekonomi pembangunan UMM. Pada kelas ini, mahasiswa dibekali strategi untuk berinvestasi langsung, serta bekerja sama dengan Bursa Efek Indonesia dan lembaga sekuritas sebagai pengajar ataupun tempat magang bagi mahasiswa. Nantinya, mahasiswa akan diberikan bekal ilmu menganalisis secara fundamental dan teknikal harga saham.
Saat ini, investor-investor domestik sangatlah minim, sehingga program studi ekonomi pembangunan mendorong mahasiswanya untuk aktif dalam pasar modal, sehingga dapat menciptakan lulusan investor-investor muda.
Ketika sudah menjadi alumni, sudah memiliki bekal untuk kedepannya. Kelas pasar modal ini dibekali dengan mata kuliah pengetahuan pasar modal syariah, analisis efek atau value stock, analisa teknikal investasi, manajemen portofolio, reksadana syariah, dan finansial modeling serta sertifikasi kompetensi bidang pasar modal sebagai jaminan keahlian di dunia kerja.
Hello, can you hear me now?
menjadi negara
Yeah.
dengan jumlah
Yes, we
muslim
can hear
terbesar
you.
di Asia.
It's clear.
All right. I
Banyak
changed my
potensi.
speaker and my microphone so that it seems
Yeah,
to
it's
be
okay.
working now. All right, good.
Yes, Prof. So I have introduced you to the participants today, and I think you can directly deliver your materials. You may
All right.
share your screen if you.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will share my
Mhm.
screen. Okay, so Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today we are going to talk about Islamic economic philosophy. And let me start by sharing my screen. All right, so can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, good. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is a deep topic. We will start by asking the question, what is an economic system? And we're talking about Islamic economic philosophy. So basically, an economic system is a consensus or between a society about what will we produce, how we will produce it, and who will get these products. So when we have this consensus, then there needs to be some way to implement it. And this requires the politics and the society and the other institutions. Everything has to work together to implement this decision. So one very important thing is that economics cannot be studied in isolation. Unlike what we learn from Western economics. Western economics teaches us that you can study economic theory in isolation from the politics and from the society and from the culture and from the history and from the geography. This is false. You cannot do that. So actually, today the dominant economic system is capitalism. Everybody is living in capitalism. So we need to understand an Islamic economic system by understanding how it is different from capitalism. And so the heart of capitalism is that everyone is pursuing wealth. Wealth is the goal of life for individuals, for societies. Everybody is after wealth. And this is also very important to understand that it is wealth for its own sake, not that you acquire wealth in order to buy something else. Actually, wealth is desired for itself. And very importantly, the education that we receive is designed to create the desire to pursue wealth. So when students come to me and ask for career advice, they're always thinking about what will make the most money. So this is not necessarily what one should want. One should want to make the most contribution, but the capitalism education teaches you that your value is according to the amount of money that you make. So students want to make the largest amount of money by their education. So if we want to explain Islamic economic philosophy, we have to study the capitalist economic philosophy and then study how Islamic economic philosophy is different from that one. So it starts from epistemology, the theory of knowledge. And this is very important to understand that capitalism is tied to the philosophy of logical positivism, that all knowledge comes from observations and logic. If something is unobservable, like God, angels, life after death, day of judgment, this is not part of knowledge. So the Enlightenment rationality which emerged in Europe, which is at the heart of capitalism, is said that we should ignore unobservables. Don't worry about unobservables. Only work about with what we had a problem. Hello, can you hear me? I think
Yes,
I
we can
lost.
hear you.
Okay, because I think we lost.
Yeah, we lost your screen.
Yeah, okay, now it should be back.
Yeah, it's back.
All right, so one of the key ideas here is that since we cannot know about unobservables, so ignore life after death. That means that the only goal is to maximize the pleasure that we get in this worldly life. And this is what economists teach us. If you study economics, it says rational behavior involves maximizing the pleasure that you get from consumption. Now, this is reasonable only if there is no life after death. If there is life after death, then why should you maximize the pleasure in this short life? That is what the Quran and Hadith teaches, that you have a very long life after death. So don't maximize pleasure in your life here, because if we maximize pleasure here, then we will be losers in the Akhirah. And that is a big loss. So even though economic theory says that this is a positive theory, there are no values hidden, actually capitalism has a lot of moral values. Basically, the morality of capitalism based on the market. Everything is for sale. And in particular, very importantly, human lives are for sale. Human beings are resources. So you and I, we are for sale in the market to the highest bidder. Whoever gives us more money, that is whom we will sell our lives to. Everything in a market society is for sale. So it's hard to believe, but you can buy almost anything in a capitalist society. There are economic articles published in journals about the costs and benefits of having children. So if you want to have children, you will have to pay money for their food and education, and then you will also get pleasure from them. So is it a worthwhile calculation? So now in a normal human being, this is not something you calculate, but when you are in capitalism, then everything has to have some price. So think about, you see, you are from a traditional society, those student-teacher interaction, we have respect and honor for our teachers, and we value the knowledge that we get from them. This is not a market transaction, but in a capitalist society, you are paying money and you are purchasing educational service. So if teacher is not good, you can say, you can fire him and hire a new teacher. So this is very different conception. This is the market society, which is capitalism, as opposed to Islamic society, which is very different. Ilm is a great treasure. So there is a reference to an article of mine which explains how Europeans started to think in this way, in the market society way. It was not that it has always been the case. They also had a traditional society based on Christianity, which was like ours. But then there was a great change, the great transformation. Today, this is not our task or topic to discuss what happened in Europe. We are trying to discuss Islamic philosophy. So I'm just going to compare the moral foundations of Islamic economy with capitalism. So in Islamic economy, our goal is to have success in the Akhirah. Allah Ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran that Zalika Fawzul Kabir, that if you succeed on the Day of Judgment, then that is the great success. But in capitalism, the goal is success in this life. Capitalism based on greed, Islamic economy is based on generosity. Capitalism based on competition, Islamic economy is based on cooperation. Capitalism is individualism. Everyone is alone for himself and he does whatever he wants according to his own pleasure. This is what we are taught in economics. But in Islamic economy, we have social responsibility. If there is someone who is poor, if there is someone who is hungry, it is my responsibility to feed him. So I must take care of others before I take care of myself. So this is very different from individualism. So there are too many differences to discuss here, but if you want to talk about the central difference, the most important difference, then you can say that Islam teaches us that human beings are the best of the creations and our lives are infinitely precious. If you save one life, the Quran says it's like you have saved all humanity. So one life is equal to 7 billion lives. And all human beings are equal. There is no poor and rich. There is no white or black or red. They are all equal, but the one with taqwa is precious to Allah. These lessons are all very different from what capitalism teaches us. In capitalism, human beings are for sale in labor market, and labor markets cannot exist without human resources. So we are all resources. The value of my life is equal to the amount of money that I make. So if somebody makes no money, if he is poor, his life has no value. So how can we build an Islamic economic system when it is so different from the system that is currently dominating our lives and our society? So we have to look at how Islamic economic system started. Basically, it started with knowledge. This is very important to understand. The Quran begins with Iqra bismi rabbikal lazi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaq. Iqra wa rabbukal akramul lazi allama bil qalam, allama al insana ma lam ya'lam. So this is the first wahi, and Allah Ta'ala is telling us that you should read in the name of Allah who created, and allama al insana ma lam ya'lam. He gave mankind knowledge which they did not have. So Islam is knowledge that was given to the Prophet and to the humanity. And if you look at the teaching of Islam, there is so much emphasis on knowledge. Adam alayhi salam was given knowledge by Allah, and then the angels were made sajda to him. And the hadith says that the ink of the scholars will be counted as heavily as the blood of the martyrs, the shaheed. So how to build an Islamic economic system depends on getting the right kind of knowledge. And capitalism teaches us the wrong kind of knowledge, because it teaches us that you are human resources for sale in the labor market. So this is already a big problem, because this is false. This is not the right knowledge. So what kind of knowledge do we need? The knowledge that we need is what I like to call transformative knowledge. It is knowledge which can change us. It's knowledge which can change the way we think, we act, we feel, and we live. So if you reach chemistry, will it change your life? No. Will it change how you think? Will it change how you behave? No. So that is not transformative knowledge. Transformative knowledge is something that will affect your inside, will reach your heart. It will change how you think. It will change how you act. That is the knowledge which is precious. When we say that the ink of the scholars is more precious than the blood of the shuhada, we are not talking about physics and chemistry and mathematics. We are talking about the knowledge that can change human beings. So in Islam, we have specifically dua for useful knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an. So he asked for useful knowledge, but he also asked for protection from useless knowledge. He says, Allahumma inni a'udhu min ilmin la yanfa. So there are two kinds of knowledge. There is useful knowledge and there is useless knowledge. So we have to know what kind of knowledge we are learning. Is it useful knowledge or is it useless knowledge? So when we seek knowledge, then the act of seeking knowledge is dependent on the intention with which we seek knowledge. So if you are in a capitalist education system, then you are acquiring knowledge to earn money. You want to learn things which will give you a job, and you want to learn those things which will give you the best job with the highest pay. So the goal, the intention of learning is to earn money. So with this intention, then your knowledge is only for sale. Your knowledge is not the ilm which Islam talks about. If knowledge is for sale for money, then it's not ilm. In Islam, the goal of our life is to learn how to be fully human. In the teachings of Islam, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. So, for every man, he has the possibility to rise higher than the angels and also the possibility to be lower than the beasts. So, useful knowledge is that knowledge which allows us to rise above the angels. And useless knowledge prevents us from making spiritual progress, and it makes us lower than the low. So once you have a goal, you see, in the capitalist system, the goal of society is to make more and more money. So all of our economic policy makers are saying that how can we increase GNP per capita? How can we get more money in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Pakistan, in Egypt, everywhere? The goal is to make more money because that's what capitalism teaches us. But in the Islamic economic system, the goal is to make spiritual progress. So how can we become better human beings? How can we have spiritual development? How can we have intellectual, emotional, physical development? So in capitalism, when the goal is to produce wealth, then all human beings and everything else is used for the production of wealth. But in Islamic economic system, all the systems, the economic system, the political system, the social system, is designed to make better human beings, to create spiritual progress. This is a very different system. So if you have very different goals, then you have very different systems. I have an article on, suppose that we want to build an economic system which will create spiritual progress in the society. Then what kind of a system will be? It will not be a capitalist system. So basically, if you think, and roughly crudely, that there are 3 stages of spiritual progress. You start with nafs ammara, then you go to nafs al-lawwama, then you go to nafs mutmainnah. And so how can we make human beings go from nafs ammara to nafs mutmainnah using the economic system, using the political system, using the social system, everything. Everything is designed to create progress and spiritual progress. So, okay, so this is the theory, but how can we do it practically? What do we need to do? Well, the first thing we have to do is to unlearn a lot of things, because we have been taught the false philosophies. Because we are living in capitalism, capitalism automatically teaches us the wrong theories by its education system, by the media, by movies. Everything is designed to brainwash us into believing that we are human resources. So now every university and every institution has a human resource department. Why? Because we are not human beings, we are human resources. This is silly. This is contrary to Islam. We are not human resources, are things that are for sale and that can be purchased. But the value of our human lives is infinite in the eyes of Allah. Allah Ta'ala has already purchased our lives, so we cannot sell it to another person. Allah Ta'ala, what is the price? Allah Ta'ala has purchased our lives and wealth in return for the Jannah. So if we want to abandon Jannah, we can sell our lives for a few dollars, but that would be a big mistake and that would be foolishness. So this is the first lesson, that human lives are infinitely precious. Allah Ta'ala values our lives. One life is valued as 7 billion. So the question is, how can we realize this potential? It's the potential. To understand what potential is, think about a seed. Every seed has the potential to become a tree. So if it becomes a tree, then the tree can produce thousands of seeds, and those seeds can produce more trees. So one seed is potentially equal to millions, billions of seeds. But only if it realizes the potential, only if the seed becomes the tree. If the seed is just a seed, then just one seed is one seed. But if the seed becomes a tree, then it is equal to thousands of seeds. So just like that, if we are born with the potential to become human being, we are not automatically human being. If we can achieve this potential, then we are worth something in the eyes of Allah. So in order to undo the deceptions of capitalism, we have to realize that the life of this world is merely enjoyment of delusion. The pleasure of this world, they'll seem attractive, but they really are not. Economics teaches us that you should maximize pleasure from goods and services. But when you study the secrets of happiness, what makes people happy, you find that eating and drinking is not what makes us happy in our lives. Actually, what we need if we want to be happy in our lives is good character. In particular, we need to be able to endure difficulties. If we face difficulty in our life, we should have sabr. We need social relationships. We need to have good connections with others. And Hadith says that a believer loves others and he is loved by others. So this is and that we should have good connections with our friends. We should have good relationships with our family. And one of the key requirements for happiness is shukr. If we have the blessings of Allah, we should be thankful to Allah for them. And we have to reflect. We have to make zikr. We have to remember who we are, where we are going, how we are behaving, where we are coming from historically. We have to remember the lives of the Sahaba and the Prophet, because their lives were spent in bringing this message to us. If it had not been for their sacrifices, we would not be Muslims today. So our identity is defined by the history of the people who made sacrifices to bring this message to us. So we have to know all of these things in order to not be just one individual person, which capitalism wants. Capitalism wants anonymous people who have no connection to their family, to their society, to their culture, to their history, so that it can become a human resource. You just give, okay, I give you so much money and you do so much work. So this is just a machine. Capitalism wants to turn us into machines. And the antidote to that is to understand who we are in history. So one of the deceptions of economics is that there is scarcity, that people are poor because there's not enough goods. So we need to collect more wealth so we can give them to the poor. This is false theory, because when more wealth is created, it goes to the people who are already very wealthy. It doesn't go to the poor. And if you think about what the resources are on the planet, then you say that there is enough food to feed everybody. There is enough resources to take care of the basic needs to provide housing, food, clothing, education, health to everyone on the planet. We already have enough. We don't need more. So there is no scarcity, but what we need is distribution. Today, 5-10 people have 50% of the wealth of the planet. So wealth is very concentrated. So what the Quran teaches us is that in the wealth and the possession of the rich, there is the right of the poor. And this is the key teaching which can eliminate poverty. If everyone who has more than what he needs will give to the people who have less than what they need, that is what will eliminate poverty, not scarcity, not accumulation of wealth. So we already discussed earlier that there are 4 pillars of an Islamic economy. Islamic economy is based on generosity. We give to others, unlike capitalism, which is based on greed. Islamic economy is based on cooperation. We all are members of the same family. We are brothers and sisters. We are sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. So we are not going to compete with each other. We are not going to cut your throat in competition. And we are, because of it's one family, we are responsible for each other. If there's anyone who is hungry in my neighborhood, then I am responsible to feed him. Even if there is somebody hungry, then even my prayer will not be accepted if I don't take care of those people. And the goal is not success in this dunya. The goal is not to maximize pleasure in this world. It is success in the akhirah. So these are the pillars. And if we build a society on these pillars, then there will be no scarcity. There is no scarcity within a community united by love, because anything I need, somebody else, my brothers and my sisters, will give to me, because if they have more than they need. So I don't need to worry about how I will get more, because if I have more than I need, I will give to them. And if they have more than they need, they will give to me. So we take care of each other. So how can we create such an economy? Well, the key insight from Ibn Khaldun is that communities are drivers of change. No one person can do anything all by himself. So one of the key obstacles in the path of building a community is individualism, which is taught by capitalism. So everyone must act for himself. And this is what we are taught. If you look at the Hollywood movies, and if you look at the books, the economic theories, and if you look at all of the social media, everybody is telling you that you only live once, so enjoy life to the maximum. Don't worry about others. Don't care about your family. Don't care about your wife, children. Don't care about society. Only care about your own self. So this is an individualistic philosophy. And this prevents the formation of communities. And if we want to change society, then we need to build a group. No individual can change society. So if we want to change, we have to work together. If we want to work together, we have to stop this individualism. And we have to say, okay, I'm putting the interest of the group above my own interest. When everybody does that, this will create a community. So how can we build community? And communities, people working together, they can create social change. And they can build an Islamic society, which will have an Islamic economic system. So no one person can do it. So we have to build communities. So how do we build communities? Islam has many tools for this. So first step is to develop ourselves as individuals spiritually. And this means that we must learn to love other people more than our own nafs. And so the Quran teaches us that لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. So the thing that I love the most, instead of consuming it and maximizing my pleasure, I should give it to others. This will be a sacrifice. This will cause me some pain. It will cause my nafs pain because I will not like it. It will minimize my utility. But by giving to others and making sacrifice, I will tame my nafs, and I will also bring happiness to others, and I will build community. So Quran says that if I have something more than I need, then I look around and see someone who has less than what you need. And I give to the one who has less than what he needs. And so the Quran says that if you do that, then the shaitan will say you will become poor. So this is what happens when we have a lot of money. We say, okay, I can, if I give sadaqah, if I give zakat, I will become poor. Shaitan scares you that if you start giving to others, then you will be poor. But Allah Ta'ala says that don't obey him. Allah Ta'ala will forgive your sins if you make sadaqah, and also Allah Ta'ala has his bounty. Allah Ta'ala will give you a lot more, because the treasures of Allah are never empty, and Allah Ta'ala gives to those who make sadaqah. So making sadaqah never reduces your mal, your wealth. And so if we have taqwa and we have tawakkul, then Allah Ta'ala will be sufficient for our needs. We don't need to look at this worldly wealth and think that this is going to be our provider. We have to remember that our raziq is Allah, and all rizq comes from Allah. So this is the basis of an Islamic economy. So if we want to build communities, the core unit is the family. Husband, wife, and children. And we have to understand that this is today under severe attack by modernity. If they break down our families, then we will be just individuals, one person all by himself, and there is no possibility of creating any change. Then if you are one person by yourself, you are just for sale. You are just a cheap machine part, and your life can be bought and sold in the labor market, and you will never do anything worthwhile. Because you will only spend your life earning money, put it in the bank, and then die. So all of the message today coming from our education system, from the movies and the media that we watch, it is telling us that life is about pursuit of pleasure. And this is exactly going to destroy the family, because the family is built on service and sacrifice, putting the needs of other above yourself. But the modern family is built on pursuit of pleasure. And it is made so attractive by the movies that all of our Islamic youth is attracted to it. And actually, this pursuit of pleasure is a deception. It leads to loneliness and unhappiness. Even though the attraction is, you are told that it will make you very happy, actually it makes you very unhappy. In Western societies, more than 50% of the children born today are born to single mothers. They never experience the warmth, comfort, and security of a home with both parents. So, because everybody is pursuing their own pleasure, the father is pursuing his social life, the mother is pursuing her separate social life, the child doesn't get any love from the parents. And so this is the problem with the society which is built on individualism and hedonism, which is the core of capitalism. So what do we need to do in order to counter? Because this is now not happening in West, it is happening in East. Families are breaking down, divorces are increasing throughout the Islamic world. Boys are saying that we want to find someone who will make us happy, and girls are saying the same thing. And so one of the things that we need to do is to fight fire with fire, explain that this pursuit of pleasure leads to unhappiness. If you are looking for the best girl and the girl is looking for the best boy, then this will just keep happening. For today, you are good for me, but for tomorrow, someone else will be better for me. And since I'm going to follow the pleasure of my heart, there is no commitment. If you look at the Western media, look at the TV, the films, the movies, everything, you will not find a single stable family, husband, wife, and children. They just don't exist anymore. You will find very strange families. Mother is divorced, has boyfriends, and children are not living together, and there's no respect. and there's no affection for the children. So these are the models that we are being shown, and all of these have effect on our children. On anybody who watches, his mind will be corrupted by this. So we have to counter this, fight fire with fire, create stories with happy families, with love and affection, with respect by the children for their parents, and the affection and love by the parents for the children. These stories we have to create. I remember that many years ago I was visiting Indonesia, and I went to a theater and I saw such a movie where there was I saw such a drama where there is a family, the girl is looking after her father, but then she is attracted by some man, and she starts thinking about betraying family responsibility. But then she learns that this is a deception. It's a trick, and she comes back to her family. So I'm saying that fiction is being produced, but we need to produce to counter the illusion that is being created by Hollywood and attracting our children falsely. So how can we save the family? Because it is under attack and it is seeing a lot of damage. This must be the first priority in our Islamic society. If we want to build an Islamic system, we have to protect the family. So traditional families in Islam have been built on sacrifices of women. That is why the mother has been given such a high position in Islamic teachings. But today in the modern world, women are unwilling to give so much sacrifice, and they have a lot more options open to them. They have possibility of doing careers, possibility of doing jobs, possibility of being educators. There's also declining respect for elders and teachers. The children are not listening to their parents, and they are not showing respect for their teachers. And also the extended family is breaking down. So previously, we used to have uncles and aunts and big families, and everybody was living together. But this is also no longer, this was a stabilizing effect. This prevented the children from listening to wrong messages. The mother is the most honored role in Islam because she is responsible for training the future generations. If all mothers provide good training to the children, the whole society will improve. If all mothers provide bad training to the children, the whole society will collapse. So it is the most respected, the most honored profession in all of society, according to Islamic values. But in the West, because the mother doesn't earn any money, so the respect for motherhood was lost. Today, if you talk to a woman in the West, they will prefer to say, I am a secretary, I am a waitress, I am a air hostess, rather than saying I am a housewife. Because housewife has no respect, because housewives don't earn any money, even though it is the most important function in the all of society. So, because when we understand this, we have to understand this, that the society must honor the role of the mothers and the homemakers. And this is what will keep women happy with their role in society. And if we start disrespecting mothers, and if we start saying that how much money can you make, and this is the criteria of your value, then the women say, okay, I will make money instead of being a mother. Because motherhood is hard. It's a difficult job, the most difficult job in society. So we must have to help women choose motherhood over careers, but this can only be done by the society as a whole. If the society gives honor and respect and support to women who are mothers by taking away all of their other responsibilities so that they can pay their all attention to training of children, then this can happen. But if we do not do this, then we will follow the same path that the Western societies do. And this is the path that is being prepared by capitalism. As people are allowed to make more and more money, everybody is attracted by the charms of the money. So now we have almost everywhere two-parent earners. So the mother is also earning and the father is also earning. and there's nobody to look after the children because the money is more important than the children. So what we need today is to build new models for Muslim marriage. First, the Western marriage is based on love. And as long as the love is there, then the marriage is there. But if the love becomes less, then the marriage finishes. And that's why most marriages are broken. Islamic marriage is based on commitment. That, okay, I will spend my life with you and I will do whatever is necessary. And this is also, in the West also, they had this idea before. In sickness and in health, in bad times and in good times. In all times, I will stick with you and I will make sure that we are working together. But, and when you make a commitment, then love naturally develops. So love is a side benefit, but it is not necessary. And the commitment is there regardless of whether or not love is there. And this is what it takes to keep marriages together. Now, the traditional model of marriage that we have in our societies has women make enormous amounts of sacrifices and men have much less responsibility. Now, this kind of model is not working anymore. And so we must build new models where there is more sharing of responsibilities and training of men to provide the commitment and support that is needed by the women. We need to provide marital counseling because the old models are not going to work, and we need to develop new models of marriage. But we can't borrow these models from the West. We have to look to our own traditions. Islamic psychology is a well-developed field, and so and it's very different from Western psychology. So we have to build on the lessons from this to create new types of models for marriage, because there is a traditionalist element which says, no, we just go back to the traditional marriage. This is not going to work. We can't go back. Time always moves forward. So we have to adjust the Islamic marriage to modern conditions, but we cannot go to Western models, and we cannot also go to our own past. We cannot just take the past models. We have to adjust to changing conditions today. And this requires ijtihad. How should we build our marriage? And this is something that we need to work on with high priority. Throughout the Islamic world, we have to work on creating new models for marriage which are good for today and based on our tradition, but not the same as our tradition, and which reject the Western models of marriage. The family is the central training ground for our youth. If we want our future to be good, we have to train our youth properly. And the hadith says that loving our children was one, love and affection for children was one of the sunnah and the characteristics of the Prophet. And so bringing our children in love with respect and justice and with the warmth of a family, this will create inside them the values that are needed for an Islamic society. Islam is Deenul Fitrah. Children are naturally inclined towards the generosity, love, compassion for others that we need to drill into their character to provide the building blocks for an Islamic economic system. So once we have an ideal Islamic family, the children will receive the training that they need for acting in the ummah as a whole and making the ummah as a whole like one body. And this is the key requirement to build an Islamic economic system. So after the family, we have the neighborhood. The neighborhood community, there's lots of hadiths emphasizing how much we need to take care of our neighbors. And the neighbors are 40 houses to the right and also 40 houses to the left. And if there is somebody hungry in our neighborhood, then even our worship, our ibadah is not accepted. We are responsible for our neighbors. And the masjid has been designed to be the community center. We meet there 5 times a day, and we should look after each other. And we should find out what is going on and if there is any needs. But today the masjid has become only a place of worship. People go and make salat and come back without finding out anything about anybody else. So we need to recapture the spirit of the masjid, because the neighborhood communities are the living cells, the building blocks for the unity of the ummah. So within a neighborhood, we should meet, we should find out who needs what are the collective problems that the ummah is facing. So in economic theory, you are taught microeconomics, which is individual level economics, and macro, which is national level. But in Islam, the key economics is meso, the intermediate level, the community level. Economics takes place in the communities, not at the individual level, and not so much at the national level. So if we want to build an Islamic economic system, we have to build the communities. We have to make sure that the communities are taking care of each other. If there is any child in my neighborhood who is not getting an education, then it is our responsibility to make sure that child gets an education. If somebody is hungry in the neighborhood, then collective responsibility. We should be able to find out and make sure that they get food. If somebody has any kind of needs within my neighborhood, then we should have the first of all the information about this, and then the possibility to take care of that. So in Islam, we are hearing about situations where people committed suicide in Islamic society because they were fired from job and they didn't have enough food for their families. But this should never happen in an Islamic society, because the neighbor should know that this person has lost his job and he is in difficulty, and the neighbor should be taking care of that. So Islam has a hierarchical system for social organization. First, we have the 5 times prayer to create strong neighborhood communities. We should be visiting each other, giving gifts to each other. Allah Ta'ala places a lot of emphasis on having united hearts. Then there is the Jummah prayer, which collects multiple communities. Jummah prayer is not at your local masjid, it's at the big Jamia masjid, in which many different communities will get together. And this should, again, we just have the form left, we don't have the spirit left. The spirit of the Jummah is that now we have many communities getting together, so we should get together and talk. The leaders from each community should have discussion after the prayer about what are the problems that we are facing and how can we solve them. And then there's Eid al-Fitr, which is city level gathering for bigger mashwara. And then there's Eid al-Adha, which is Ummah level gathering at the Kaaba. And then again, the leaders for the Ummah should get together and discuss the problems being faced with the Ummah. So we have a very natural social organization. But today, Western models of nation have destroyed this collective thinking. In fact, our poet Allama Iqbal said that the nation, that today we have invented many new gods, and the nation is the biggest of these new gods. And the dress that it wears is the coffin of religion. So when you start talking about nationalities, when you start thinking at national level, then you have already divided the ummah. So the economic institutions of Islam are these that I've listed: zakat, waqf, Islamic monetary policy, loans and investments. I will discuss takaful, natural resources. So I'm going to discuss these briefly. First of all, the zakat is today not as effective as it can be. I think in Indonesia and Malaysia, they're doing a much better job than we are in Pakistan. In Pakistan, we have just people individually give zakat to somebody poor. So this is not very useful. It's like basically what we need to do is, instead of giving a person a fish, we need to teach them how to fish. Once there was a man who came to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was asking for money. The Prophet ﷺ asked people to collect some money, and then he said, okay, go and buy an axe, and with an axe go and chop some wood and bring that wood and sell it and then make money. So instead of giving him some food to eat, he gave him an axe which gave him the instrument to create his own rizq. So this is the way that we also need to provide zakat. Instead of giving some poor person milk, give them a cow, and then they can have the milk, and then they can use the milk to sell the milk to produce income. Or you can give somebody a sewing machine so that they can produce. So basically, you need to provide people with skills and with income producing assets, and also provide them with social support, because one of the aspects is poverty is not just about money. It's about not having friends and community and respect. And so all of these things are essential to lead rich lives, and this is what we need to do. And we also have to train them to think for and give thanks to Allah for the blessings, and train people in abundance thinking, that we have a lot of the treasures of Allah, instead of scarcity thinking that I have nothing, so I must go and earn money and work and so on. So these things are capitalism produces scarcity thinking all the time, thinking even if you have $1 million, you say, oh, actually they did a survey of millionaires and they asked this question: do you think you have enough money? And I don't remember, I think it was about half of them said that no. I mean, even it was more than half, that no, we don't have enough money. So even if you are a millionaire, you still have scarcity. Unless you learn to think differently. So the waqf is one of the central institutions of Islam. And the waqf should be contrasted with the bank. In capitalism, when you have more money than what do you do with it? You put it in the bank, and you want it to make it grow to get even more money. But in Islam, if you have more money than you need, you put it into the waqf. You make it available to others for charitable purposes, so that you use that money to buy the akhirah. So in capitalism, you use money to buy pleasure of this dunya, and in Islam, you use money to buy the success of the akhirah. So the major difference between Islamic economic system and capitalist system is that capitalism provides social services from the government. In Islam, it is the communities which provide social services. So I have a small waqf in my community. It takes care of all the educational needs of the children in my neighborhood. And every community takes care of their own needs. There is, in order to do this, we need to have strong communities, but also we need support from the government. If the government takes the wrong policies, government can destroy communities. Also, government support can build communities and strengthen them. And this is what the government has a background effect. Government is not there providing social services, but it is there to support the communities, to enable them to provide social services. And in this, finance also comes in a complex way, which I will discuss later. But basically, Islam places a lot of emphasis on self-reliance. So if you build a school, you build a shop next to that school, and the earning from the shop is used to finance that school. And this has always been. Similarly, if you build a hospital, then you also build a farm next to the hospital, and the produce from that farm is sold, and the earnings are used to fund the hospital. And this is because of the key factor that nobody will be paying tuition in an Islamic society, because it is not the job. Education is not something for sale. Actually, it's our social responsibility. You see, this is what capitalism does. It puts everything for sale. Now, education is not for sale in an Islamic society. Education is the right of every child, everyone who wants it. It is the responsibility of the whole society to make sure that he gets it. And similarly, if somebody is sick, it is not his job to find money for his treatment. If somebody is sick, he is my relative. He is my brother. I must make sure that he gets to the hospital and he gets the medicines, everything he needs, and I will spend the money on it. He doesn't have to spend the money. So this is the collective social welfare in an Islamic society. The complicated thing is an Islamic monetary policy, and I have given detailed discussion of this in the link given below. If you run monetary policy correctly in an Islamic society, you can ensure that there is zero inflation and zero interest rate. But more importantly, you can also run it so that every child who is born will receive enough money to take care of all of his needs until he becomes a productive member of the society. Then when he starts producing, he will pay back to the society whatever has been spent on him. So this is the most valuable resource in a society. The children that is born, he is the most valuable. So we think capitalism teaches us to think that, natural resources, the gas which is buried in the ground, or the oil, or the palm trees, or the agriculture. No, Islam teaches us that the most valuable resource is the human being. So when a child is born, our biggest and most important investment is to invest in that child. So we must give the child enough money to make sure that he or she becomes a productive member of the society. After they become productive members, then they will pay back whatever has been spent on them many, many times over. So this life loan, this can be arranged just like, in the USA, they have something called 30-year mortgage. So you take a loan of $1 million to buy the house, and every month you pay back $1,000 or something. So over 30 years, you pay it back. So life loan for children is just like that. They are given a lot of money to make sure that they can earn. And once they earn, then they can pay back to society what was spent on them. Another policy which can be carried out is called a job guarantee program. Everyone who wants to contribute productively to society must be given an opportunity to do so. It's not that, is there a job, is there not? There's no joblessness in an Islamic society. Everyone who wants to produce, it is the responsibility of the rest of us to find a job for him, to find something, and everybody can do something valuable. So we must make sure that everyone is doing something valuable, whether they're cleaning the streets or whether they're taking care of the invalids, they're educating the orphans, they are looking after the needs of the widows and the handicapped and the other people who can't. So there's something everybody can do. It's our job to organize the societies to make sure that everyone gets to do something productive and valuable for the society. Now, one source of confusion is the concept of loan and, loans with interest. So one very important thing that there is confusion about is that in Islam, there is only one kind of loan, and that is a social loan. You give only loan to the poor. There are no loans for business. This is very important to understand. So when we give loan to the poor person to take care of him, then obviously this is a social assistant. So obviously there will be zero interest, and there's so many hadiths about making easy terms. If somebody needs some time, give him time, try to forgive the loans, give qarz-e hasana if you can. So all of these things are because loans are only for social purposes. But if you give money to a business, it can never be a loan. You must participate in the risk of business. So a famous Shakespeare story, when Shylock the Jew gives loan to Antonio, then Antonio does business with it. His ships are sink, so he cannot pay back. So now, in Islamic system, you cannot get any money back because you are participant in the risk of doing business. If the business flops, then your investment goes to zero. So this is the problem with the interest, that you ask for your money back even when the other guy has no money to pay you, and so he must pay with his blood. So this is not allowed in Islam. If you are doing business and if there is a problem with business, then your investment will also have to have problem. The earning is because of the risk. Now, one important thing, a meta principle to understand, is that both, when you give a social loan, it creates friendship and cooperation. You are cooperating with your brother in need, and he is also acquiring love and affection for you because you helped him in his time of need. So the love in the society, the cooperation is increasing, and this is the goal of Islam. Similarly, when you are doing takaful, then you are business partners, so you are cooperating in the business, and if the business does well, both of you benefit together and you are happy. If the business does badly, then you share each other's loss, and you can reduce the sorrow of the other. Now, as opposed to this, when you have an interest-based loan, this is an adversarial transaction. This is a transaction between enemies. I will take your money even if you are not doing well, and you will try to prevent me. You will try to minimize the interest, the payment to me, and maximize the profit to yourself. So my interest and your interest are opposed to each other. This is best understood by looking at takaful, which is the Islamic version of insurance. Takaful looks like insurance, but actually they are, and when you look at the spirit, they are completely different. Insurance is actually a gamble between two enemies. If you insure me, then I give you some money, and this is a bet that my house will not burn. If my house burns, then you will pay me the whole amount of money for the value, and you will try to minimize the amount that you pay for me. And I can actually even burn my own house to get the money that you have. As opposed to this, so this is an adversarial. My interest is against your interest is against my interest. But in takaful, we have a community of people, and we all get together and say, okay, if anybody gets sick, then we will help him. So let us pool some money together, and this money will be used when anybody needs it. So it's again a partnership. So I get sick and I say, oh no, I don't want to take from the common pool. I will use my own money. And the other people find out and they say, no, this pool is meant to help you in your time. So you should take money from it. I say, no, this is for somebody else. Somebody else needs it more than me. So this is kind of cooperative transaction, which is takaful. When you have the true Islamic spirit takaful, then you have no moral hazard and you have no adverse selection. Now, I said earlier that every human being is infinitely precious. There is no human resource and there is no labor market. So now this is a problem. How can we organize production? Suppose I'm going to run a factory, but I cannot hire a laborer. Then how am I going to run a factory? Well, the Islamic business organization is different from the Western business organization. In Western organization, I buy the time of a person and I say, okay, I'm going to pay you $50 an hour and you will do this and that and the other for me. So he is selling his life and getting money for it, and I'm paying money and buying his life. In Islam, this doesn't happen. When we have a business, the business is in the business of providing service to the community. Suppose that we are bakers and we are producing bread. So our goal is to provide this service to the community, and we're trying to make good quality bread and we're trying to make sure everybody is fed. When I hire an employee, I'm not paying him money for his service. Actually, we are all partners in providing service to community. So even if the person that I have hired is going to just sweep the floor of the bakery, he is thinking that I am part of this enterprise to serve the community by providing bread. So I a participant in the sawab, the ajr of providing the service to the community. So everyone, even, if you have a sweeper in the masjid and he is cleaning out the bathrooms, he is still earning the sawab for service to the masjid. So just like that, in a factory, everyone is equal. They are all equal in producing a service to society, and they work for the sake of the reward of that service to society. The wage is not given as a purchase of the life. The wage is given to make sure that you can take care of your needs while you are serving society. So it's a very different way to think. Finally, we come to natural resources. And natural resources are like land, oil, minerals. These are actually gifts of God to mankind. So they cannot be privatized. These must be used for public benefit. Today, this capitalism, it is using natural resources like oil, which are the gift of God to all of humanity, not for anyone's personal use. And they are using it to make personal profits for themselves and causing a lot of harm to humanity as a whole. And this is actually the cause of the climate crisis. In Islam, if somebody takes a public resource like oil or lake or forest, and they use it to cause harm to society, then the government can take it away. The public, the society can take it away from them. And so this is a very different theory of property from capitalism. Capitalism says that once something is your property, you can do whatever you like with it. But Islam says that if you have some property, it is an amana, and you can only use it to do good. You cannot use it to cause harm. If you use your property to cause harm to others, it can be taken away from you because you have done khayana. You have not fulfilled the responsibility of the amana. So this is a very different theory. In Quran, there is an ayah which says that, Ya Shu'aib, does your religion command that we stop doing whatever we like with our property? So this is exactly the same theory being discussed in the time of Shu'aib, that if it is something is my property, if I have a tree, I can burn it and enjoy the fire. But no, if the tree is a fruit-producing tree and it is giving benefit to the society, you cannot burn it down because you will cause harm to society. Even if you own the tree, you cannot do it because you're not the absolute owner. Absolute ownership belongs to Allah. You are temporary owner, and it is only a short-term amana, and then you have to pass it to others. So, how can we build an Islamic economic system? It is 1,000 miles away, but a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So, we can start to implement changes in our family, create stronger families today. Starting from today, the husbands should provide more respect and love and honor to their wives. Husbands and wives should provide more affection and comfort and provide justice to their children. And we should work hard to build the bonds, to strengthen the bonds of our extended families, look out after our poor relatives, look for, pay respects to our elders, and sort of build those bonds of the extended family. After the family is the neighborhood. We should take good care of our neighbors, build links with them, send them gifts. When we are having some good food, send some portion over to the neighbors, and find out about the needs of the neighbors. If there is anybody in the neighborhood who is uneducated and we know how to read and write, then we should teach them. We should look for, if somebody is looking for a job, we should be looking for them, and so on. So basically, treating our neighborhood like our family. And there are many, many other initiatives which can be started at small levels with small projects. As the small level cells of the community become active and they become organized and they become stronger, then higher level activities will automatically emerge. The problem today is that instead of working from bottom up, it's not exactly bottom up, community level is the right level. We are trying to work from top down. There are lots of people who say that, okay, first we must capture the government, or we build the Khalafa, and then we will take care of the Ummah. But that's not true. First, we must build the Ummah, the connections between the Muslims, the hearts of the Muslims. This is precious to Allah. So if we fill our hearts with love for the Ummah, Allah Ta'ala will change our conditions. And this is also the promise of the Quran, that Allah Ta'ala does not change the conditions of the nation until they change themselves. Changing ourselves means living according to the values of Islam and Islamic economic philosophy, not living according to the values of capitalism. We must dedicate that our education, when we learn things, is not to get a job. We acquire knowledge to provide service to the Ummah. And similarly, we devote our lives. My living and my dying is for the sake of Allah Rabbul Alameen, and for the sake of service to the creation of Allah. So I will end this talk with a dua. May Allah Ta'ala accept our prayers and struggles, and may He guide us and the entire Ummah out of the darkness into the light. O Allah, grant us the nur of your guidance and make us the source of guidance and hidayah for all of humanity. Allah Ta'ala, fill our hearts with the love of Allah and love of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and love of the deen of Islam. And Allah Ta'ala, make us of those people who live for you and who die for you. Ameen Rabbul Alameen. And that is the end of my talk.
Amin ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you very much, Professor Asad, for your lecture. And for the participants, you may send your questions in the chat box, or you can also directly ask question to Professor Asad. Any questions? Okay, we got questions here from Bufori. How's the practical political developments in Asia in supporting Islamic economic system?
Please explain more. I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, it's about what do you think about the political developments? I think it's about the policy to support the Islamic economic system.
You see, we have been trained to think that change will occur in governments, in politics, but this is the wrong level of thinking. We have to start thinking, we are trying to think about things which we cannot do. Like, we're trying to say, okay, let's solve the problems of Iraq and Palestine and USA and Russia and Ukraine. These are beyond our sphere of influence. So what we can do is we can work on our own family and our own relatives. This is the issue. And our own neighborhood. Start with that. Don't worry about what's happening in Indonesia and Pakistan and what's the government doing and what's the Organization of Islamic Conference doing. Those are not your responsibility. You can't do anything about it. So don't worry about things you can't do anything about. Let Allah Ta'ala take care of His job. Don't try to interfere with what is happening in Egypt and what is happening in Africa. That's not your concern. But what your concern is, if there is a person in your neighborhood who's hungry, do you know about that? If there is a person in your neighborhood who doesn't have a job, and maybe you can help him. So worry about, do this. Make this your life goal, that, okay, I will change the lives of 10 people whom I know. Let that be your goal. Don't worry about changing the world. Change the lives of only one person. You can change the life of one person. You have the capability, you have the talent. You're listening to internet. So many people cannot understand English. So many people don't have the resources and understanding. So you have the talent and capability and skill to change one life. You can change 10 lives. You can change 100 lives. So do what you can do. Don't worry about questions about which you can do nothing. Suppose I tell you what is politics in South Asia. How will that help? How will it matter? You can't do anything about it. If it's good, if it's bad, there's nothing you can do. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Asad, for the explanation. And the next question is from Mutia.
Okay, very good. This is a good question.
Mhm.
What needs to be prioritized ideologically or spiritually in context of achieving economic prosperity? Okay, first of all, economic prosperity is not our concern. Our concern is how can I become successful in the akhirah? So I worry about fulfilling the orders of Allah so that I can become successful in the akhirah. My concern is to make sure that I can get to Jannah. How can I get the amal? And so I worry about my spiritual progress. The most of all, there is one meditation which is taught by the Sufis that just think that there is nothing else in the world. There is just me, and then there is Allah, and there is nothing else. So now, how can I build my relationship to Allah? Now, this will involve, because these are the orders of Allah, being kind to your neighbors, being respectful to your parents, having affection and love for your wife, and providing the right kind of training to your children. So all of these things are part of, but you're doing this not because of the children and the wife, but because this is the order of Allah. And you're doing this to please Allah so that Allah Ta'ala will become happy with you. So the first priority for every Muslim is his or her own spiritual development. Everything else is done in order to achieve this goal. And spiritual development is necessary because we must cleanse our hearts in order to achieve success of the akhirah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Professor. I think it's very interesting. I'm very concerned about the zakat because in Indonesia we have the institution that collect zakat from ummah. And what about in Pakistan? Do you have the same institution or?
No, we don't have. And I think that Indonesia has a good model. I've been to Indonesia. I've studied their models. And yes, if it is done efficiently, I think Bangladesh also has developed some good models. If it is done efficiently, there's a lot of zakat and it can be used to change lives instead of just giving some food to the poor, which is of course, giving food to the poor when they are in need. You see, there's two kinds of things. There's called firefighting. So if there's a fire, you have to pour water. You can't say that, okay, I will take a long-term approach to, so when there is a fire burning, then you have to fight it. And so if somebody is dying of hunger, you have to give him food. But if somebody is relatively stable, then instead of providing food which will make him dependent, you give him the axe and teach him how to chop down the tree and earn his own living. So this is the type of, okay, you can say the first level zakat is providing the bandage. If somebody is sick, providing the medicine. Somebody is hungry, providing the food. But the second level zakat is building skills, building hospitals, building systems which will take care of the poor. This is what the waqf does actually. The waqf is not is a money, okay, so that anybody who comes for food, now you provide him food. So instead of one-time meal, now you have provided food for a long time. And why? You have built a financial system which can perpetuate itself over the long period of time. So similarly, so this is the thing that moving from level 1 zakat, taking care of firefighting, to level 2 zakat, which takes care of long-term needs. And I think that in zakat, in Indonesia, you are doing a better job, but there's still a long ways to go for both Indonesia and also for the Ummah. If we were able to use correctly the zakah, we would have a radical impact on poverty. We could eliminate poverty within the Ummah by correctly using zakah.
Yes, correct. It is a very long journey because the number of, the number is huge. It's actually huge, but the collected zakat, it's still very low.
Yes, relative to the potential of zakat, it is very low. Yes.
Yeah, the potential. Yeah, I think people prefer to give to the neighborhood instead of collect it to the institution.
This is also correct. Everybody, you're supposed to spend zakat on your neighborhood, but not. But it's. I think that the problem is that most people are spending on level 1 and firefighting zakat instead of thinking more hard. Like you see, when you invest money, if you have a lot of money, then you say, okay, which is the bank or the investment or the activity which will make me the maximum amount of money. So just like that, you're thinking so much hard about the profit of this dunya. So you should think, how can I spend this zakat to get the maximum earning of the akhirah? This is use it most efficiently to reach the maximum number of people for the longest period of time.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Asad, for your lecture today. It is very, very insightful lecture. We wish you to come to Indonesia, to University of
Inshallah, I've
Muhammadiyah.
gone there many times in the past. Over the past few, of course, because of the COVID, we couldn't travel, but inshallah, next time.
Yeah. And maybe next time or next year, we will invite you
yes,
to,
it's possible,
inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay. Do you have any other question? Oh, this one, the last one. From Mutia again. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about,
I don't read it.
Oh, what do you think about whether technology and can affect the way of thinking of human spiritual?
You see, technology, innamal amal bin niyat. So you can use technology to bring benefit to humanity. You can build, in fact, there are grains of rice which have been developed, which will produce a lot of grains of wheat, which will produce a lot of wheat, and actually you can use them to feed humanity. But the intention of the capitalism was not to feed humanity, it was to make profits. So what they did, they spent millions of dollars researching terminating seeds. So they said, okay, if we sell this wheat, which is very productive, then people will produce more wheat and we'll just sell it one time and then they will produce their own. So they handicap the seed so that the seed that comes from the crop cannot produce more seed. They spend millions and millions of dollars research to make sure that people are hungry so that they can make more money by selling more seeds. So this is so this technology is very harmful to humanity. So innamal amal bin niyat. If somebody was doing this for the sake of service of mankind, it would be of very great benefit. But if it is for the producing harm, producing profits, then it is harmful. So today, a lot of technology is being used to harm humanity and make profits for a small number of people.
Yeah, that's correct. It's like the two sides of coins. There's the positive and also the negative effect of technology. Well,
Yes.
I think that was the last question for today class. We're very delighted to welcome you, Professor Asad, and also for the participants. Thank you for joining us today.
Did you make a recording of this?
Yes, yes.
Oh, very good.
You can access. Yeah, you can access it in our YouTube channel. I will send it to your email.
Very good. Very good. Okay,
and we will also. Can you send the materials?
The slides. Yes, I can send you the slides.
Yeah. So we can share the materials to the participants.
Yes, I will send you slides. Okay.
Yeah. And for the participants, we would like to remind you that we have 6 topics left every Saturday. So don't forget to joining us every Saturday. And by the end of the class, you will get all the materials and also the certificate for this short course program. I think that's enough for today. Thank you very much, Professor Asad, and also
You're
the
welcome.
participants.
Thank
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikum assalam warahmatullahi.
Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you.